Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. It's me and Harvey Two-Face Whippleman. No, his name is Marley. And half of him looks amazing. The other half looks white. And anyway, you're looking amazing too, by the way. So we crack on. Because I'm answering another question. A lot of people over the Christmas period have been sending me questions and asking me to justify some of my positions on why I give Kohberger the benefit of the doubt, why I would dare support the innocent until proven guilty. And one of the things that keeps cropping up is why would they frame Bryan? What makes Bryan so important? And it's a valid question. But I think you're going about it the wrong way, what you're thinking. Now, in order to frame someone, they have to be able to be framed. There has to be a way that they can be placed into the story at hand. First of all, there has to be pressure. There has to be a reason why it makes sense for someone to be framed. And what we've learned about Moscow, Idaho, is that there was stuff going on. There is a very powerful entity in the Idaho University, and they are in the middle of a very lucrative business transaction, and that is the acquisition of Phoenix University. There would have been pressure from the university in order to get a result, and sometimes when there is enough pressure and enough at stake, there are people who can come into play and things can start to happen. There can be incentives, there can be warnings, there can be people who cave to that pressure. So then they seek to get a result, and they seek to get it in the quickest way possible. And this happens, and this is why people end up being exonerated later, because they are wrongfully accused. And that might just be in the hunt for justice and a mistake. But in these situations, when there is pressure and there is people who are feeling that they have to put something to a close, there comes a time when, yes, this decision may be made. And like I say, the person, and in this case, Bryan Kohberger, it must make sense. And that's when you have a story. So you have a story in which we have victims, and we have this night when these victims were, sadly they lost their life, didn't they? And Bryan Kohberger just so happened to be driving around that night in a car that is one of several thousand, but he has one. And he was driving around, and he had no witnesses, no one with him. And he went in and spoke to Moscow PD. Now, it's quite plausible that someone who's working in law and had personal dealings with this station previously. Remember, he had approached to work within law enforcement, hadn't he? So he would have gone in there and felt trusting of them and would have had a conversation. Well, I know you guys have turned around and said, look, you never speak to law enforcement without getting legal representation. We know that there was other people around this case who sought legal representation, but he didn't, and he had a conversation. Now, if he had this conversation, and this conversation was along the lines of, so what were you doing on this night? Well, I was just driving around. So you was driving around in your vehicle. Okay. And who was you with? I was with nobody. I was on my own. Do you do that often? Yes, I'm a night owl. I can't sleep, so often I go for a drive, and to be fair, I go for a drive around this area quite often. It's not out of the ordinary for me to drive from Washington over to Moscow, Idaho. It's only down the road, sort of 9 or 10 mile. Okay, so you've been here multiple times, you've been driving around at night, you've got no witnesses, nobody to corroborate anything. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And at that point, Bryan Kohberger was already starting to nail the coffin lid down, and they have someone who they very likely can manipulate and push to fit the story that they are pushing, can't they? What do you reckon? Do you reckon they can be trusted? So that's why. Because they could. It's not important. He's not some, I don't know, undercover something. He was just there. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, in a situation that had pressure, things to lose, and powerful people who wanted results. Can happen. Let me know down below. And me and him will catch you all in the next one.